And then all of a sudden, I'm watching the news, and I find out that my buddy Bob, 10 years ago, was walking into Gillette, coded, cardiac arrest, collapsed, and luckily, walking near him towards the stadium were a couple of off-duty medical professionals who started CPR. They saved his life, and he's back going to Patriots games. He was there last week and saw the Patriots beat the Houston Texans. So let's welcome into the show right now the unkillable Bob Stanley, who joins us here on the Christian Arcand Show. Bob, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on, Christian. It's an honor.
Of course, Bob. It's great to have you. I saw you last night over at the bar. We decided, you know what? Channel 5 shouldn't be the only one getting rich off this story. Let's get you here on WEEI as well. Can you walk us through what your perspective from this was 10 years ago? First of all, what game was it? And just sort of walk us through that day.
Well, it was 10 years ago, pretty much last weekend. It was the divisional round playoff game. January 16th, the Patriots were playing a 4:30 game against Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm a season ticket holder, and so we were going to that game, and the day went normal. I didn't, have any issues or any medical issues going on, and I thought I was somewhat healthy at the time, and. It was about 4 o'clock. We started our walk-in. We typically park across the street at lot 33, and I got a big group that goes in with me. So we were all walking in, and my group kind of shrunk down to about 5 or 6 of us walking in, and one of the guys with me, was a detective captain with the state police, off duty, and we're crossing the street where the sidewalk is, and he stopped to say hello to all the troopers that do the sidewalk and report to him, and we just kept walking ahead, and I did notice I was getting a little bit more tired than I normally would be, doing that walk, and we're getting close to the stadium. I was probably about 100 yards from the to the ticket entrance, right. And I fell behind my group, and they started yelling at me, "Come on, Bob, keep up." And I'm just, geez, I don't know what's going on. And then I just got really winded, and it didn't feel normal at all. So I stepped out of the crowd into like a grassy area just to stop and, catch my breath for a second. And I remember almost every little detail of what happened. I stopped. I looked up at the stadium, and I'm like, "Oh, geez, I got to go up all these steps. I don't know if I'm gonna make this." And right at that exact moment, and I should say I didn't have a heart attack. What I had was a cardiac arrest, which I pretty much skipped over the heart attack part and had the cardiac arrest. So what happened was, the way I noticed it was, as I was looking up at the stadium, something clicked in my head. And it didn't hurt. It's just a feeling that I had never felt before. Later to find out, what my cardiologist said was you basically had an electrical malfunction. You went into cardiac arrest. The first way you're going to notice you're in cardiac arrest, you're not going to feel a chest pain. You're not going to feel anything else. Your brain is going to be the first thing that figures it out. Yeah, the blood just stops going up there, and for the blood, I felt something click, which I assume was the blood stopped going out there. And I sat there for about a second and a half thinking, wow, that's a feeling I've never had before. Hopefully it's just something that just goes by. And that was it. And that was the last thing I remember. And then from there, I get everything from, the people around me, who had kind of, were ahead of me and kind of stopped to look back. And Thankfully they saw me, and they saw me go down. And I went down, and, my friend who I go to the games with, Melissa, she ran back and, kind of grabbed me as I was falling to the ground. And then people kind of spread apart, and then the rest of the group kind of ran back. And that's right there at that point. That is the most critical moment, because at that point I go down and people around you could just think, oh, this guy's had too much to drink. Right. He's passed out.
Sure.
And then those critical seconds go by right there. But I'm lying there not breathing. So obviously there's nothing I can do about it. So my life is in the hands of what those people and the crowd around there does at that exact second. And thankfully, my friends started not CPR, but they were, trying to evaluate what was wrong with me. And then I think, as you mentioned in your intro, my two strangers, people just going to the game, their physician assistants, a couple of young ladies, Amanda and Veronica, were walking by, and they looked at each other and they looked down at me, and they could tell just from their experience, looking at me for like 5 seconds, they said, he's coding. And they knew right away that I was in cardiac arrest. And they basically kind of just jumped right on and kind of pushed my friends away and said, let us in here. And they started doing CPR. And right then, my state trooper friend kind of caught up, and he saw what was going on.
Just in time, so right? Finally, the authorities get there after you've been dead for 10 minutes.
Well, what he did is he saw what was going on, so he turned around, and he was a former track star in high school. He sprinted down back to Route 9 and grabbed all the troopers that were at the crosswalk. They all reported to him, and he started, screaming at them. And, so then about 6, uniformed troopers all came down, and they got down there, and they saw Amanda and Veronica, and they, one of the bigger troopers kind of said, all right, let us in. And they kind of moved them aside. And then, Trooper McSweeney started doing CPR. I mean, he was doing some real heavy duty compressions. That's, he broke, I think, 4 or 5 of my ribs, or 3 or 4 of my ribs. I forget what it was. But, that's a sign you're doing it the right way.
Right.
And so, now you're at, 3 to 4 to 5 minutes now. And, they're just trying to keep me going, to keep the blood moving a little bit. And at that point, they're waiting for the defibrillator to get there. And, I think at about the 5-minute mark, Foxborough Fire showed up in their golf cart with the firemen in there, and they got the defibrillator on me right away. And then, they cleared the area, hit me with the defibrillator. I think they said they hit me 3 times, and then started to get a rhythm back and a pulse back. Meanwhile, my trooper friend who's looking at us, he's seen this stuff before, and he saw the look on my face. My face had turned relatively blue. They thought 100% I was gone. They said there's no way. They were already on the family. They were already on the phone with my family while they were doing this.
I thought you were about to say they went into the game. They were like, hey, he's dead. Let's just go watch the
game. Yeah, they grabbed my tickets. Yeah,
right. Yeah, you sat in your seats.
Got an extra ticket.
So Bob, you came to in the ambulance. We're a little pressed for time here, but you came to in the ambulance. Do you remember anything about the crossing over to the other side? Did you see the afterlife? Like, what was that?
I went down. The only thing I can remember, I mean, I'd love to tell you a great story about some afterlife, but there really wasn't anything there. The only thing was when I came to, I guess it's called sleep paralyzation. I came conscious. My brain started up, but I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. And it was like being trapped in your body, and you can't do anything. And, after about, I think, 45 seconds to a minute of being in that kind of state where, your brain is just starting up again, and you're trying to move, you can't do anything. And then, finally I came out of it, and, and then I just started, I didn't know where I was. I'm like, well, what happened? And then they whisked me off to Norwood Hospital, and, had a great on-call cardiologist who's still my cardiologist today. I hope he's listening. And, everything turned out real well, and I've been great for 10 years now.
That's excellent.
They weren't sure what caused it, so they put a little small defibrillator in me just in case it ever happens. And so I've got that, and it's never went off in 10 years, and I'm down about 60 pounds and, doing things a little bit better. But my main thing is I would want to say thank you to all the people that day, and not just to Amanda and Veronica and the troopers and Foxborough Fire. And I should point out that the guy who hit me with the defibrillator from Foxborough Fire has been since promoted to the Foxborough Fire chief, Mike Kelleher. So that's a good story. So yeah, if it wasn't for all those people and just the people that were helping out, when they're doing CPR, the crowd around there was grabbing the metal barriers and pushing them out in the street and creating space, and just the whole security staff at Gillette. They came out of the pro shop and they were helping out, and they gave clothes to Amanda and Veronica after they did the CPR because they were all covered in, bodily fluids that came out of me. So
sure, yeah.
They gave them new shirts and jackets and all that so they could go back into the game again. So, in the end, there were many more good stories than bad stories that come out of that day.
That's an incredible story, Bob. We're glad you made it. Yeah. One question I had, and I saw you on Sunday over at Six String. We were doing the pregame show. Was it weird going back there, walking up to the stadium again? Did you start sweating a little bit? Like, how was that?
I think a lot of people got confused. I'm a season ticket holder. I've been going for 10 years. So,
gotcha. Okay.
No. It was a little weird going on the 10th anniversary because, it was, the exact day, 10 years before.
Yeah.
And, just everything along with that. It was just different. And, I never thought that I would, be there 10 years ago. I mean, after what happened, they say only 1 in 20 people survives a cardiac arrest if you're not in a hospital. And it was actually the Foxborough Fire chief that said to me 10 years ago, that's not true when you're in my stadium. When you're in Gillette Stadium, they have over like a 60% survival rate of a cardiac arrest. And if you remember 3 years ago, Buffalo Damar Hamlin had a cardiac arrest right in the middle of the field.
Yep.
And normally he would not have survived that, but he had it right in one of the best places. So the best place is either you're in a hospital or you're at an NFL stadium to have a cardiac arrest because you got so much of a better chance to survive.
Absolutely. What a great story there. Incredible heroism by the passersby and all the EMTs and the police and the firemen and everybody that were all there. Just tremendous. Where are you going to be watching the game this weekend, Bob? I know you're thinking about going to Denver. You're probably keeping it local, right?
I am keeping it local, and I will be at our usual hangout spot tomorrow because Channel 5 is doing a little follow-up.
Cool.
So they're going to be coming down, but the whole snowstorm might blow that whole idea up. But
right.
I'll be there whether I have to walk there or not.
All right. And that's, of course, the Village Manor right there in Dedham down in the Manor neighborhood, the best bar in town. Bob, great having you on. Incredible story. Thanks so much for sharing it here, and maybe we'll see you this weekend, all right?
All right. Thank you, Christian.
All right. Thanks, Bob. That is Bob Stanley, Miracle Man.